Nelson German. You have two concepts in the Bay Area now. And I want you to tell me Sobre Mesa and alaMar Kitchen. And I want you to tell me a little bit about them before we start. So tell me about these two.
Of course, of course. Let's start with alaMar. It's the oldest one. So alaMar Kitchen and Bar is in Oakland, California, in the Lake Merritt area, uptown Oakland. It's been around for almost 8 years. We'll be making 8 years on May 1st of 2022, which is insane.
Yeah.
We started as a really small kind of mom and pop's place. My first restaurant opening ever. It's always been a dream come true for me, and always been my goal as a chef throughout the years to open my own place. So that was the first one, and it was like a kid at a candy store. Finally got to open my own place. 2014. It's been an amazing ride. We're making 8 years this year, which is crazy. But it's a seafood restaurant that really represents my journey as a chef. From the menu really reflects that, where there's dishes that I grew up with from my childhood to dishes I've done in the past throughout the years, working in different places with my own twist, of course. Dishes I learned from traveling to like Spain and Italy and France, and then a lot of original dishes. So it's almost like my progression as a chef from a kid to all the travels, all the working through great restaurants in New York City and San Francisco, to what alaMar is all about. And it's going good. We're about to reopen the indoor dining. We're about to come back to full service style. We switched over from full service to fast casual 2017, around that time, just because the high cost of doing business was going even higher than what it was. Due to taxes, wages, rents, a bunch of stuff. So we wanted to kind of scale back and really make sure we keep things affordable for our guests and keep our overhead low. So we switched over to QSR, or fast casual counter service, and it's been very successful for us. It honestly made us profitable. It created this new vibe to alaMar, made it really a neighborhood restaurant instead of a special occasion restaurant. Because special occasion is great. It's a beautiful thing, but not everyone gets time to, especially people with kids. For date nights, it's very rare, or people in the industry too, to actually come out. So we weren't getting as many regulars as we should have. When we switched it, we became definitely a little more family friendly, and it was just a style of service. It's crazy. It wasn't the look of the place.
Well, let me ask you what you mean by fast casual. So, I mean, when you say that, what do you mean? Do you mean basically you didn't have table service, or you did have,
yes,
in addition to table service, you had counter service? Tell me what you mean by fast casual.
We eliminated table service. It was just counter service. So you go to the cashier by the bar to order, and then we bring out the food. So it was, I wouldn't say minimal interaction. We were still going around checking on people, but it wasn't like one person really taking care of a table. So it was like a little slight change on that.
Did that set you up well for the pandemic, in the sense that when the pandemic came along, you were able to pivot?
It really did. I think if we would have still been a full service restaurant, we might have not been around, just because, again, overhead is too high.
Yeah.
When it comes to full service, at least especially in the Bay Area, because it's very expensive out here. But being fast casual counter service really got us ready for takeout. We're already doing a lot of takeout. The outdoor dining thing was kind of our bread and butter, because we're so close to Lake Merritt too, so we have a really beautiful view. And the area has changed. There's a lot of new buildings and condos that looks gorgeous in the street. So we were very fortunate on that.
So you're saying now you're going back to full service. So this is the point where you're, so why now? I mean, it seems odd that you would do that at this point, given the other struggles going on, but so what's the thinking there?
One thing we realized that people, because a lot of people have been so isolated for so long because of the pandemic, they want more human interaction now. It was a point where, we brought in the QR codes. There was everything social distance. We're still doing that. And with minimal interaction with our staff and our guests, and we thought that would be okay. It was okay for a while, but people really like want to talk to someone. They want to hear the story of the food and hear the story of alaMar. Um, just be guided, you know. And we realized like people really want this. I think this is the way to go now. It's almost like we're coming back full circle to the way we started, which is pretty crazy thinking about that. And I think with me and everything I've been doing with Top Chef and all these great accolades, people expect more. You know, they want to come to this place for an experience, and we have to give them that. And I think it's just having someone there to really bring that experience to life. You know, and again, it's just talking about the menu, telling the story of each dish and me and why this place is so special. Just having that presence, I
Yeah.
think, is very key. So I'm really glad to be bringing that back. And that goes with pivoting. You know, it's one thing I've learned throughout the years as an owner. I learned to really be an owner instead of just a chef. And you have to know when to pivot. You have to know when to adjust things, but still keep the soul of the restaurant alive.
That's so interesting. So I'm going to bring you back to, what drives the menu there, but I want you to tell us a little bit about Sobre Mesa first. So now this is really a cocktail concept, but you are also you have a tapas menu, but this is very experience too.
Definitely. Yeah, Sobre Mesa is really special. Sobre Mesa is the culmination of my fascination and love for the cocktail culture, and also to really dive deep into my roots. You know, alaMar represents my journey as a chef. Sobre Mesa really represents my culture, my roots, and really going deep into that. Um, it's a place that really just tell the story from the cocktail to the food. Like there's a tapas menu that really is there to enhance the experience. The cocktails are the star of the show, which is amazing. Like, and I really got more focused or a love for cocktails and the art of it because of alaMar. One time I was forced to read behind the bar. As an owner, you have to do everything, right?
Sure.
You never know. People are sick, no one can come into work. So I was forced to be behind the bar and I fell in love with it. It was a new challenge for me, for one. It was like cooking for me too, just using liquids. And I finally got to be with my guests that have been coming to alaMar for a long time, and I actually got to have a conversation. Because usually we're stuck in the kitchen. It is an open kitchen, so people can see me, but we're in the weeds. We just wave and smile. There, I was like there to actually have a conversation with them while we're making cocktails. So it was this like new thing for me that I really fell in love with. And I started doing more research, traveling more, learning from a lot of great mixologists around the Bay and bartenders, and it created Sobre Mesa. And I wanted to bring a place that, again, represents my culture, but also represents the whole African diaspora. Because a lot of places that are just seen as Black-owned businesses tend to go to certain different cuisines that are very similar. I wanted to show a different side of it. Being Dominican in nationality, we are part of the African diaspora, just like we do speak Spanish, so we have a lot of cool influences in our culture. And I wanted to show a different side. So it's a fun place. When you walk in there, there's beautiful colors. There's the pink, the bright blue, the emerald green and gold. It's really sexy, lush, and cosmopolitan. But it's fun. The music, the merengue, the bachata, the reggaeton. We have music from like Haiti and Africa. It's a really cool vibe. I'm really proud of this place. It's a place that really is elevating things, especially for Oakland, and again representing something new but still familiar.
It's interesting how often, the fact that it's just so fun and lively comes up in reviews. I mean, that really is definitely part of the experience. But tell us about the cooking style. So I really want you to kind of focus on the menu, and maybe can you describe some signature dishes that you feel represents the mix of cultures that you're bringing to the table?
Of course. Yeah, the tapas menu is really special. Again, it's representing deep into my culture. I have dishes there that are kind of inspired by my childhood and also inspired by just kind of learning more about not just being Dominican, but being I just found out my ancestors come from West Africa. That was something coming out of, especially coming out of Top Chef if you saw this past season, episode 3 of the Pan African Challenge, was really inspiring for a lot of us who are of color. We really got to, when I tasted the food from Senegal, it it was my mom cooking for me. Like, it was absolutely fantastic, and I realized how deep the ties are to that continent with my people and my culture, and it just like blew my mind and inspired me so much. I wanted to come out of there really not going towards, because when I opened Sobre Mesa, I call it an Afro Latin cocktail bar. So I'm focusing more on Afro Latino cuisine and culture. Well, coming out of Top Chef, I wanted to go even deeper to that. Um, Found out my ancestors come from Cameroon, which is a really beautiful country in Africa on the west side by the coast, where actually found out most of the plantains come from. And Dominicans, we love plantains so much.
Yeah.
That's what we're known for. So it's crazy how these connections are. But with the food, I'm going deep, more Pan African. So like one dish is really special. It's a chicken skewer that's and the chicken is special because we marinate it and brine it in pineapple, um, shiokoji, which is a fermented rice from Japan, which learning from my brother Chef Shoda, and sofrito. Sofrito is something that we use in all our cooking in Dominican culture. Blend of cilantro, peppers, garlic, a lot of olive oil, and red onion. My mom uses it for rice, beans, whatever you can find. So there's that. There's pineapple to add some kind of tropical, bright flavors. And the shiokoji really breaks down the meat beautifully. Um, and of course, dairy free. But it makes it seem like the chicken is braised. And in my culture, braised meats is our thing. Stews are our thing. It's what represents us really, really finely. So the chicken skewer, we brine it, then we roast it, and we do this beautiful red stew sauce that's really popular in West Africa. Uh, African name is Opiata Dindin. It's a sauce that, again, you can use for different things as a marinade or kind of enhancer for like rice, making jollof rice and all that. So we do this beautiful stew. There's mustard oil too that's really popular in West Africa. And of course, we do this like cool puff rice to give it great texture. So it's a dish that really like starts Dominican, starts Afro Latino, and ends West African.
I love it.
It's
That
really
sounds delicious.
it's amazing.
Yeah.
Another dish I'm really proud of, and it's one of the most popular dishes, it's my stuffed plantain. So again, plantains, I love plantains. We use the ripe plantain, which is nice and sweet. And I do an impossible meat ragu. So there's a dish growing up called patelón de plátano, which is usually like a layered, almost like a lasagna, but instead of pasta, it's plantain that we mash and layer on. So you got the meat, like a really beautiful ragu with like Caribbean spices. There's usually some kind of white, beautiful cheese, usually an aged cheddar that's used out there. A lot of olives, a lot of this beautiful tomato sauce, almost like the red stew, and we bake that. So it's kind of inspired by that, but in Africa they also take the whole plantain and kind of just cut a canoe out of it and stuff it with all the ingredients inside
Oh,
it.
wow. Yeah.
A lot of peppers, the meat, the cheese, and all that. So I do one with impossible meat. So it's all vegan. Surprising, and I'm not vegan at all, but I wanted to do something really kind of unique, and I knew plant-based, food was very in trend. So impossible meat, soy chorizo, it's a lot of beautiful tomatoes, plus great spices. So we put that in the plantain after it's roasted. There's chow chow. So chow chow, the pickled peppers from the south,
Yeah.
really poppers. It brings such a delicious brightness to the plantains because you got the sweet, you got the spicy, you got this meaty flavor, and you got this bright pepper and acid that's fantastic. And then there's an avocado mousse in the bottom.
Oh,
So you got this
that's so
silky, beautiful color.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. I'm really proud of that dish, and it's become our bread and butter. Like people really come for that dish,
Yeah.
and even people who eat meat are surprised that it's not real meat.
Yeah. So you're from New York originally, though, right?
Born
Tell
and
me a
raised,
little bit about your background, because you've worked in some great kitchens. Tell us a little bit about where you've been before this.
of course, of course. So I was born and raised in Washington Heights. That's uptown Manhattan. Just like people saw the movie In the Heights, that's my neighborhood.
Yeah.
it's a fun place to be. I really miss that part of New York. You know, growing up in that neighborhood, just walking around, hearing merengue, having people play dominoes, the bodegas. I definitely miss. Um, just drinking some Dominican coffee in the corner. It's a neighborhood full of life, full of life. Just fun atmosphere. Everyone knows each other. Like it's really a great community. So I grew up there. For a lot of years, I worked in downtown New York, of course, like Midtown and Lower East Side, in some amazing places, Joseph Citarella, Gramercy Park, Gramercy Park Hotel, uh, Jerry's Cafe, which is a place in Soho that was really famous for models and actors, celebrities who live in the area to come in and have great food. So I've been around. It's been a great journey going from Washington Heights to going down and really being a quiet kid. I was always a quiet person who never said much. I would ask minimal questions, but I was always observing, and I think that helped me really move up the ladder because I was always focused. I knew that as a person of color, I'm not the normal typical guy who would be in a fine dining kitchen. So I wanted to be there to observe and help out as much as I can and just absorb everything, not kind of felt not, I didn't want to be in the way, but it kind of helped me really move up the ladder because I was just, again, observing, writing notes on the side, and then showing it with my action, just cooking, letting my cooking tell the story. So I really, like it changed me a lot. It made me who I am today. Now owning my own places, I'm definitely more out there, definitely more always feeling grateful for everything I went through, even as hard as it was and dealing with crazy things, but it made me such a strong person now.
Well, you have to tell the story about Top Chef because and has the season fully shown yet? I don't know if we've gotten to the last episode, but
Yes.
your part is so people know, right? You can tell the story of what happened.
Yeah.
On the show.
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
So
Yeah,
tell
so
you,
this,
you were injured. I mean, you this kind of illustrates, the kind of how chefs really just put it all out there
yeah,
when they need.
yeah.
But tell us what happened.
Of course, yeah. So the season's fully done. It was an amazing season. People really were so into the season. Loved every one of us. We really stood out, and we're also different and diverse. I think that's what made it special. And we again we filmed during the pandemic, during the height of it. So it was a crazy time to film, but we made it through. And I think that's what really brought us together the most too, because we're all dealing with so much, and we're so isolated from everything. Especially us who are business owners, we didn't know what's going on. There is no phone calls to your business. Maybe once every 3 weeks, 5 minutes, you find out what's going on, but it's everything's so quick. So we're all in this unknown. We're all not as haven't been as creative as we can be because again we're dealing with so much out of it,
Right.
with our businesses and our people, employees, and everything, and just our families, like just not knowing who might be unfortunately sick or going through some things. So we were all really down, and I think just the camaraderie that we had really kept us going and really kept us sane,
Yeah.
basically. But yeah, it's this show. It's absolutely amazing. It's definitely tough and grueling. Like it can get you because the lack of sleep, which as chefs we're used to that. But just everything that we're not used to, all the cameras, the producers, the massive scale of this amazing competition. It's really a big production. Like it's absolutely insane and huge. But it's magical what they create, and we were just all happy to be part of it. But it's nonstop. So being nonstop and the lack of sleep, your body's not healing as quickly. You're not your full self. So during the Orchard Challenge, I think it was episode 4, we were outdoors finally because again we were in Portland. There was protesting still going on. There was all the fires too, so we weren't really outdoors a lot. Um, we are mostly in the studios and the kitchens. But when we finally got to be outdoors, it's beautiful, beautiful sight. Like just the mountains, the orchard, the sun is out in this beautiful farm. It was absolutely fantastic. So we were all in awe of where we're at. and really happy to be there. We were like kids, like just smiling and laughing. But then when the clock started, we all had to run and pick our fruit. And I think we ran a little bit too hard. Um, and there was holes everywhere, basically. There was still harvesting, so and still putting in the trees. So there was holes that we didn't see. I didn't see it. I'm wearing kitchen shoes, and I'm just hitting these holes and just tweaking my knees. Um, and then there's cameras everywhere. So I'm trying not to show that I'm in pain and I'm hitting these things. I'm just want to go and grab my fruit and come back to cook. But it just tweaked my knees and it just started swelling. I made it through the challenge and I cooked, definitely in pain, but it got worse and worse the more challenges I was in. So it just became a point where all the cartilage in my knees were gone. Luckily, I didn't hit a ligament. I was very lucky, but one time I just couldn't walk, and it was the time when I was supposed to go to Last Chance Kitchen after getting eliminated with my teammate, and I just couldn't get out of bed. Like I literally couldn't walk. I needed a wheelchair. I was in a wheelchair for about a month or so. Needed
Oh dear.
rehab. It was insane. It was a
Yeah.
really tough place to be because I wanted to keep going, wanted another chance, but also thinking about my coming back home and would I be able to walk and still be able to do what I love to do.
How is your knee
So
now?
my knee is great. I'm 100% healed.
Oh, good.
Um, it healed on its own, luckily, since I didn't hit a ligament. So I was very fortunate. And I think for the first time in my career, and I said it on the show, I thought more than just myself and my career. I thought about my family, my businesses, everything around me. Because that's just where we could be very stubborn. We want to just finish and
Right.
do what we got to do. We got to show our tough side, that we can take the pain and all the pressure, like we've been doing throughout the years. But for the first time, I sat back. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I have to just say no, and just think about my future.
Well, has the experience helped you though professionally? Just because having been on the show, even though you weren't able to finish quite the way you wanted to, how has that helped your career or changed your businesses?
Oh, tremendously. We all came out of this amazing competition different. More in tune with our food, more in tune with who we are and what we want to represent in our careers. Because it's for a lot of us who are old school and been around. I've been in the business over 22 years. Um, we were always focused on what we learned throughout that. If we want to be top chefs, we have to just do French, Italian, Spanish, the three cuisines that are mostly in the fine dining realm. Um, the last few years I've been diving in more into my culture, of course, and cooking my food because now is respected more. But coming out of the show, we all came out of it like, this is what we're gonna do now. Like, forget about the past. Let's think about the future. This is what we do best. This is where I can do better because again, with challenges, like with me, I was trying to go more Afro-Latin with my food in every dish, except for one challenge. Um, I knew that I was going the right path because I was always going through, but I needed to do it better, like adding one little component that can make it better and hopefully be at the top. And I finally found it. Like for instance, what my food lacked on the show, and not necessarily from my restaurants because people still come in for it, but can make it better is acid and some kind of pickling elements. Being in front of Padma and Tom and Gail, they always love some kind of like something that needs to bring the dish to life. If it's something very starchy and heavy, it needs to lighten it up. So I knew my food being Dominican, we eat a lot of starch. It's kind of part of our culture. And the fact is that in our culture, we always think that this meal could be our last. So we need to get full. We need to have things that are just going to make us feel just like we could just need to sit back and go to sleep. Um, but I knew that I came out of it thinking, okay, this is what I need to do in my food to make it better. And for me, it was like adding some more pickling items to it. For the stuffed plantain, I did a chow chow. For the chicken, I'm doing the mustard oil and a little bit of lime juice, like things that can heighten things up and make it less heavy, but still represent my culture.
Yeah.
So it's like we came out different people and again more in tune with who we are and where our food needs to go. And,
Yeah.
and for me, it's just like been straight and narrow now. Like I can think of a menu faster. I can put together something faster, of course, because we're in this time zone on the show with the clock,
Right.
and just like really focused, like more focused than ever. And it's been helping me and helping my businesses because I'm there and I'm more focused, I'm more concentrated. I know where we need to go to really take it to the next level.
So what is next for you?
What's next for me is hopefully having my own show. Never know, I'm working on some things. Hopefully a book deal. Just really taking up a notch, and definitely would love to open more concepts. There's some things in the works for that. Just being out there, getting really taking advantage of the momentum and the exposure that Top Chef and everything else has given me, you guys too, and just keep going. Keep doing great things for community. Keep giving back to charity. We did a lot of charity meals, and we're still doing those. Cooking for the homeless, cooking for needy families who are in need out here. Always giving back to community, but always pushing forward in our brands for the business, and really being top of mind for everyone.
Yeah.
And I think and I'm really excited with possibly a book deal, doing some more competitions maybe. So I'm really like just going out there. Before I was always reclusive and just want to be in my kitchen and in my businesses. Now I have to venture out. As you can see, we're all traveling a lot and cooking with each other. Been traveling the nation, cooking with Byron in Aspen, Jamie in Las Vegas. Hopefully, go see Avishar in Ohio. Like we really just like want to be around each other, and
Yeah.
and going out there and showing our faces in these different cities that people they just know us from TV. Now they're meeting us in person, and that builds my brand better, and it makes people want to come to Oakland and visit my businesses. So we're always there to promote and just show face
Well,
and cook.
right. So you tell me a little bit about what your outlook is for 2022, and I wanted to ask you about, recently one of your friends, Tanya Holland, has decided she's going to be closing Brown Sugar
Yeah,
Kitchen in Oakland, and which is a great loss there. But
yeah, for
you were
sure.
quoted as mentioning, something about how it's really been difficult an environment to operate in Oakland, in the city there. So are you thinking about leaving the Bay Area, or tell us a little bit about the challenges that you've experienced there?
Yeah, definitely challenging. I'm definitely not leaving. I
Yeah.
think for me the difference is that the way I grew up is I'm always grateful for opportunities and situations. For me, Oakland gave me my first restaurants. Like after years of you know dealing with a lot of ups and downs in this business, moving up the ladder, traveling the world, Oakland was the city who gave me my first restaurants, and I'll always be grateful to that. This city has a lot to give. There's a lot of rich history. There's amazing people. It's an amazing town. It's going through some ups and downs right now because, again, everyone is. A lot of cities are, even the best ones out there, due to the pandemic and people being desperate and not having an income. So it's going through some things, of course, but I feel optimistic that we're getting back to what make Oakland Oakland, and the Bay Area being a special part of the nation and California. So I'm not too worried. Again, there's things going on. The crime rate is getting a little bit out of control. Not necessarily in our area where alaMar is, thank God, but definitely around us in other places. So it's kind of a scary time, but we have to. The restaurants and the food scene was what really put Oakland on the map. Not just the music and the sports teams. The food scene really brought people to Oakland because usually the Bay Area, you think San Francisco. Um, the restaurants and Brown Sugar was one of those big highlights and pioneers with Tanya, who made people realize, oh, I don't just have to go to San Francisco. Let me cross the bridge and see what's out there in Oakland.
Yeah.
And it started that revolution, started that renaissance. And I'm glad to be part of it. And I think there's a few of us who are still here who need to continue that and not let it die off. As even as tough as it is, we're still surviving. We're still surviving, and we just got to keep going and keep working together.